For joining us today for the Design Review Board meeting of July 19th. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. We'll start with attendance.
So noted.
Okay. And then public comment. If anybody is here from the public that wants to comment on any of the items, applicants will be able to come up when theirs is on. All right, we'll close public comment. Next, we have approval of the minutes from July 5th. We've all had a chance to look them over. I'd look for a motion unless there's changes.
So moved.
Motion by Treasurer Keeps.
Support.
Support by Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So on to new items. So we have site improvements. And our first one is 6895 South Telegraph Road with Pinnacle Office Building generators. And then if the applicant wants to come up, we'll start with Wade, and then you can add in after.
So thank you. We are located here in the O1 Office Zone District on Telegraph at Fairlane. And the office building is looking for the installation of a new generator, which would be located in the front yard of South Telegraph Road. And as we get to the site plan here, you can see this area, Telegraph is to the bottom. You can see that the generator would be located in this area right here. I'll add that it is on site currently. It is not hooked up and operational until we get the proper approvals from the various boards, yourself and the Zoning Board of Appeals. The size of the generator is 76 long by 33 inches wide by 40 inches high. And the applicant is proposing screening along the perimeter of where that generator is going to be sitting. They are proposing 6 to 7 foot high arborvitae in this area here. A second part of this request, in addition to the generator, is for a new dumpster enclosure. That dumpster sitting right back there today. Again, the drive from Telegraph, you pull into the parking field and you'll see the dumpster there today. The brick dumpster enclosure is proposed here as a Brampton architectural series, which will match the existing building. And the dumpster enclosure door is a womanized wood, treated wood for the gate itself, or the door, I should say. You can see the specifications. It was proposed at a 72-inch high facility to house the dumpster. It's right in this configuration. And some pictures you can see here. There is some evergreen around where this white is the generator that's sitting on site. We would require that the generator be screened fully from public view. That will be a requirement from the zoning board as well as we move forward. And just another view of the generator, side view. And then you can see the dumpster here as it sits today, which will be enclosed with the discussed brick and wood door. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do you want to add anything first?
No, Wade covered it pretty well. We acquired the building last year, and the dumpster was kind of thrown in some parking spaces, so we moved it to an area where it's accessible by the dump truck, and then obviously plan to come back to Wade and the team to get the approvals to screen it and get it enclosed. And then on the generator side, there's an existing transformer pad, electrical, that's already there. So that's going to be in that same area. Those arborvitaes are fully grown in. They were planted last year, so they're a little fuller. But if they don't get taller fast enough, we plan on removing them and installing something more packed together so you can't see the generator or the transformer behind them. from the road view.
So those weren't recent pictures
They were,
of the trees?
Well, they look fuller now, but,
actually, they were yesterday.
oh, nice.
Okay.
So, Wade, my question, I guess, was going to be, and it kind of relates to what we're talking about here. When you say fully, what does that mean as it relates to this picture?
This
Fully
is not-
obscured?
This is not
considered
fully screened from public view, so there'll have to be some additional screening there.
And this picture was taken when? Like
Yesterday.
Yesterday. And these were planted last year?
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you want to give it a year and see?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of wondering two things.
That's what I was
One-
trying to say, if they were
Yeah,
less.
because I was asked before you started speaking, I was just wondering what, so either growing in and/or even maybe painting the,
Not white.
the generator green, just so that it flushes in more. But I would think that they're going to grow together, and to pull them out and to do, I hate to see you have to do that. On the other hand, Telegraph is much higher. You're looking down, you're going to see these things. And it's going to be really difficult to obscure them, so they are going to need to get some height. Do you have any issues painting the generator? I mean, I wouldn't typically suggest that, but again, in this situation, it might. The transformer, I guess, is to the right, and it's kind of that grayish between, maybe painting it might be good, just because
Yeah.
it's going to.
I think what we'd propose to do is to have the landscaper add additional plantings to, bring those trees together with additional height. And then if we still have visibility issues, then addressing it at that point.
Okay.
But it's a great suggestion. I appreciate that.
I don't have any other questions. I mean, the additional, either way works, seems to work.
Yeah,
I mean, the additional plantings or the green, or both.
So I guess I'll make a motion to approve as submitted, to allow, I don't know, let's, and it's going to grow through the season. So I'd say, I guess, within, I don't know, what do you think in terms of, I guess I'd like to give department approval or administrative approval to determine if it's obscured or diminished?
That really will be a determination by the ZBA, because it's in the front yard.
Subject to, okay, so subject to their approval, but I guess I'm still wondering, should we say a year, or should we just say within 60 days to have a plan, or what?
Well, the ZBA would, typically, because it's existing, they would have to make application, and they actually would, they could prescribe a time frame for the landscaping at that time,
Okay,
as
so-
part of the variance, so if you want to suggest,
Just
give
allow
it
them to-
a 30-day or a 90-day opportunity for, the consideration of the growth of the shrubbery, you could do so.
Well, I guess I'm going to suggest actually different. I'm
Okay.
going to suggest forwarding it to the ZBA, approved, subject to their thoughts in terms of how to, and if you just make sure our comments are in there in terms of the latitude and painting, and let them figure out.
Sure.
Maybe best how to deal with it.
They handle screening a lot, so they
And placement. I mean, placement seems appropriate as if it's just looking at the lot and what's next door. It does seem like that'll ultimately be a question for them too. So I think I support that
A
motion.
motion by Treasurer Keep, support by Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That does pass.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Next, we have...
Thanks.
Oop. Next, we have 1830 West Square Lake Road for the Muslim Unity Center landscape plan. And if you want to come up after, we'll start with Wade, and then we can have you speak next.
So as part of a prior design review board decision, the plan you see here was approved in 2019 as the proposed landscape plan for the lot at the corner of Square Lake and Maplewood. It is a green lot that is no longer permitted for general use of parking areas. The police do have the ability to authorize parking there if there's an emergency parking issue on the site for a special event, only after approved by you all through the special event process. So this is not a typically parked lot any further. But as part of this prior DRB approval, there is a landscape plan that needed to continue through the process and be implemented. That plan, as you see here, was not implemented according to this plan as shown here. So what happened through various enforcement actions is we reached out to the MUC for an alternative landscape plan if this was not the landscape plan that they intended to move forward with. And so that is what has happened, and what's before you today is a review and decision on an alternate parking plan, or I'm sorry, alternate landscape plan, as you see here. I will point out that under this initial site plan approval, there were approximately 95 individual trees and arborvitae proposed. And so what happened in the meantime is that the MUC, through Springer Landscaping, installed a perimeter row of 3 to 4 foot tall arborvitae. You can see that arborvitae line ringing the perimeter all the way around here. There were approximately 420 arborvitae planted in lieu of the original plan. And so through that action, again, I come back to we need to either abide by the original landscape plan that was approved or get an alternative landscape plan approved. This is their alternative landscape plan that they're asking for here. I want to point out that there are approximately 15 or so additional trees that are not on the lot that they are looking to plant, to include some maple and tulip trees and some additional arborvitae to provide some year-round interest to the site and some height variation and so forth. And so that is what the plan is calling for, the 420 arborvitae plus the additional species here, which include green giant arborvitae, ivory silk lilac, autumn blaze maple, crimson king maple, and tulip trees, and 420 American arborvitae. So it's different in the fact that, as I mentioned, there were about 95 different individual plants before, to where there's this additional arborvitae and these trees of interest and species of interest on the site. One aspect as well that we need to consider is this is the condition of the arborvitae today. Our township landscape architect did a inspection of these trees and estimates that about 15 to 20% of these species are dead. And so that leads to the discussion of if the alternative landscape plan with the additional trees of interest will fare the same result as these arborvitae are starting to fare without an irrigation system in place. And so that's some of the talking points that we wanted to bring to you today to talk with the applicant about, is to either replacement and removal of these dead trees, an irrigation installation system, whether that's an option, whether or not the alternative landscape plan is something to consider approval of in lieu of the original 2019 plan. So that's a bit of an overview as to where we're at, and the applicants are here to add any further discussion with you all.
Do you want to come on up? Anybody want to just introduce yourself and add to the discussion?
Hello, sorry for being late. I was actually at the center at 1:30 and I'm waiting around. I saw the man with a safety vest walking around. I'm like, well, I guess I'll wait for everyone else. And then I run around 2 o'clock. I'm knocking on doors, and then so I apologize for being late. So yes, the Muslim Center reached out. I believe it was last fall, and it turned out they were looking for this plan to be done. I took the plans, and then I spoke to Will, who's a security guard there, and then also Tulin. They were very prompt about it. They were like, hey, they want Bloomfield Township wants this done immediately, and we do quite a few customers in the area, Turtle Lake, Heron Ridge, whatnot. The plans that were given to me were the original plans, but what was really emphasized was creating a border, security border for basically car headlights when they used it for the parking, especially for the neighbors and also oncoming traffic off a square lake, so it's not blinding. I kind of did advise to plant them a little bit further apart, but they were really wanting them close together to create immediate privacy. And then I forgot his name, who came out while we were planting them, and what was it?
Chris Myers.
So did
Yes,
you
Chris Myers.
suggest adding that to, I mean, you wouldn't have just said, ignore the plan, approve, we're going to do a whole new plan. Were you saying, in addition to what's required, I would like you to do this? Or did you physically decide to ignore the plan?
No. So Chris Myers came out and we discussed because, for
Last
example,
fall.
what was that? I'm sorry.
Last fall, you said that you
Yes.
had the plan, but then you changed, was it you that changed the plan?
No, I was kind of directed toward, for example, like in the top right-hand corner, I believe it would be the northeast corner of the lot. There's a maple tree there, and when Chris came out, like I said, it was kind of like going back and forth of what the plans were, what I was told, kind of going back and forth, and I didn't know what the premise was of what was needed.
I mean, what you were, I'm trying to figure out how it went from what you were supposed to plan to
Yeah.
what you put. Who told you from the township not to go with what was approved by the?
So I did not speak to the township at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I was
Someone
told
else
is
said
they
just do
just wanted a quote for the arborvitaes. And that's what I provided, was a quote for the arborvitaes, and I was saying, hey, this is a little tight, but if that's what you guys wanted, we kind of had to abide by it. But from the count of what you guys had, I was told that they had to be side by side. But then I told them 90 count, which is what the original thing was for the plans was. There's no way that would cover all of it. And then also, too, from the original plan, I know they wanted blockage for the headlights. A lot of those original species of plants on that, the original plan, was like dwarf Alberta spruces. Those only grow, I mean, you plant them at 5 feet, it takes 30, 40 years for them to get to 10 feet tall. So that's why I guess those were scrapped. And then also I believe hollies as well. Holly is like a low bush that, again, does not get very tall. I thought we were looking for more vertical coverage, again, especially for the neighbor on the northwest corner of the property.
I just need to really get this again. So you were given a plan that the township approved by a different landscaper. You didn't plan, so when you say I was told, and you're saying it's not the township, did somebody else tell you we're going to ignore the plan and I want you to do this?
Well, that's the thing.
Like, I'm trying to figure out how what you planned
Yeah,
would
so
happen.
I was never part of submitting the plans to the city. I was never.
But you saw what the township approved.
Well, I didn't see. I just saw those original plans that were just given to them. I didn't know that was plans from the township that were supposed to be required.
Site,
That
yeah,
was
the
kind
site
of the miscommunication. And then basically, I just know they were trying to not create as much parking, but basically create as much blockage.
There's supposed to be no parking there. So what you created was a parking lot.
Yeah, and I'm just, like I said, I feel.
You created a line around where people can park. There's not supposed to be parking there, which is why there's supposed to be a lot of things in the way.
Yeah, and I apologize. I like I said, I wasn't supposed to be, I felt like I was like on the bridge between things, and like I said, I was given these plans, and I guess the thing was, because they wanted to pave it, wasn't allowed and whatnot.
Right, it's not
was just
supposed to be a parking lot.
Yeah, was
It's
to
a
create
buffer.
blockage for the headlights. That's all I was told, and I was never part of submitting the plans, revisions. I sent them over to the original a landscape architect. I forgot his name. I spoke to him probably like 3 or 4 months ago, and he revised it. And then when I talked to Wade about everything, then I was kind of caught up to date when I had to come in and resubmit the plans. And then he was like, "Why are you resubmitting them?" I told him why. Then he told me the original
Yeah.
meaning. Then I connected the dots. So, yeah.
May I ask who told you to change the plans?
Well, that was the thing. So I was given.
Planted something. Can you help me understand who told you to plant what you planted?
So I was told just create a perimeter of arborvitae.
By who?
The Muslim Center.
Thank you. Okay. I just need to make sure nobody
Yeah.
here ignored what was in 2019.
Yeah.
This is from a previous administration.
Yeah.
It's really clear what they approved. I needed to make sure nobody here actually said, we're going to totally ignore what was approved on a site plan and
Yeah.
go rogue.
And this is our
Okay.
first,
So it was not one of our employees that did it. Okay.
and I was brought in fall of 2022, so I was never part of the original submission. You know, we've been doing this quite a bit, and
Okay.
once again, I
Okay,
kind of almost like in between bridges between contractors, it seems like a little bit, so.
okay. Thank you. I
no
needed
problem.
that cleared up from my side. Do you want to add anything?
Definitely. Two things. When we had the meeting last time and we agreed to plant it according to the order, first of all, my name is Dr. Mahmoud Al-Gamal. I'm a member of the board of Muslim Unity Center. And we said, okay, we're going to plant it. When we gave him the plant, we were in communication with Chris. We did not add more trees because we want to add more trees. Chris was told. He was telling us to add more trees, and he specifically added the trees right butting to the neighborhood. That corner all the way down, he said it's better to add more trees there. So we added trees, and he said, okay, well, maybe if you want to add more trees to kind of create that blockage of light, that would be better. So we added more trees. We did not go intentionally to spend tons of money, instead of 95 to add 420, just because we have a lot of money.
He said you could add trees, but he never said you could ignore the plan.
We did not say ignore the plan. We never mentioned ignoring the plan to anybody.
So who did tell that man right there, you're given this, we don't want you to plant that? Chris Meyer didn't, because Chris got sent out there when you didn't plant anything. And we were going to give you, we were like, hey, it's been over 3 years. It's 22, COVID's done, like all the other reasons are done. Plant it. And then that's when Chris said, go plant the trees. And yeah, if someone says, should we plant extra? Sure, he's going to say plant extra. We would love extra trees, but who told this gentleman, don't plant what the township wants, plant what we want? Like, who told them? I'm trying to figure out how what you did happened, because somebody told him.
It's a good to ask, but did we tell you to ignore the township plan?
Who told you plant a whole bunch of arborvitaes in a row instead of the
We
township plan?
told them to add more trees because it's a suggestion by Chris.
In addition to the plan?
Yeah,
So yeah, so you still should have done the whole plan plus more trees.
yeah, that's what,
So what happened to the plan?
the plan was done, but those special trees were not installed. That's the only difference between the previous plan and the current one.
So when are you going to plant the plan that should have been planted? Like, that's nice that you added extra trees.
There are 15 trees were not included in the plan.
No, the 90, there were 95 trees that were supposed to be specifically placed. You came to us with the site plan. A specific plan was approved, and you can clearly see they're not even close. One was approved based to make sure this is a buffer between the community and the religious aspect, so that there's a quiet zone. Cars aren't supposed to park there. I'm trying to figure out what happened. We were all in the meeting. It was real clear, okay, COVID's over, it's time to plant. And then this showed up. Who told this gentleman, ignore the plan? And if you're saying it's extra trees and we're still doing the plan, when are all those other trees getting
What's
planted?
the difference between the previous plan and the current plan, except that those 15 trees? That's the only difference.
There
And
are
the additional trees
60
we planted.
Can you list how many of each different variety of tree was supposed to
No,
be
one more
planted?
thing also, when we start before plantation, we got Chris to the site and looked at the plant, and we said, these are the plant, the 400 something we're gonna plant, are they okay? He said yes. He came next day and looked at almost half of the line and installed, and he said, looks good. He came the last day when they finished, he looked at it and said, it was good, that's it. Am I right?
He did not think that was actually to replace the plan, though. He would have thought, when you're saying, we're going to plant these extra trees.
No.
Chris is really good at his job, and he follows the rules.
Ma'am, we are all, we know, he knows more than us about even the plant and the kind of plant. So when he came, he looked at the plant on the lot. It's not picture, or it's not something hidden. He looked at the trailer and the plant on the ground, and he looked at some of them installed, almost half the line installed. And he walked through one by one, and he said the distance is fine, the space is good, continue. And he came a day after, and he came the last day. So
Do you
we
wanna
did not
table this
do
so that
anything
Chris
out
can
of
come
our,
here?
just,
I think we should table this and have Chris Myers present, because clearly something happened. It'll give the neighborhood a chance, because, I mean, seeing you show up, I have no idea how what happened, and I am not comfortable at all with what's coming. So I think we should table it, have Chris, because it's not fair to talk about somebody who's not here, give the neighborhood a chance to look over, because you obviously would have expected the plan to be done as well, and then we'll come back all together
What's the
again.
difference, as I said? I did not...
There's a huge difference between the plan that was approved and what you put in.
No.
You
The
put in a
difference
parking
is
lot
fine.
surrounding, and you're talking about lights versus the plan. So we're going to table this, if I can have a motion to table it,
Well, let
and
me
you
just-
can come back.
Wasn't it the purpose of the whole meeting we had?
Was to get you to plant the plan.
No, but was the purpose only...
To plant the plan.
Let me just finish, please. To screen the whole lot?
No.
I did
Never.
not finish it.
But
Did I
if
finish
you're
it?
going to tell me it's anything other than plant the plan, we need to table it, because you're going to try and discuss about Chris and others, and it's not fair.
No, I'm
So
not
I'd
talking
like to
about Chris
stop
now.
the discussion that's not going
I'm talking about
forward.
Chris right now. I'm talking about the meeting we had, and I think she was attend to.
It was about
and you were-
planting the plan.
Yeah, and we said the
100%.
purpose of when it's needed to be used as a parking, as an emergency parking, there's no light goes into the neighbor, there's no light goes into the
There
road.
was absolutely no discussion of you doing anything but other than this plan. There were about 20 people at that table. If you want, we can bring everybody from that meeting forward. There was never discussion of anything other than this plan.
I know what-
I know you were. There were a lot of us there, so you and I have a difference of opinion. So we're going to table this so we can bring a lot of other people who are sitting in the same meetings, because two people have a very different opinion. So we're going to bring a lot of people in here to discuss it.
I guess before we table it, I'm
Okay.
just curious if the neighborhood public
He didn't have
comment...
a chance. He didn't know it was
That's okay,
actually
still-
coming.
I'd like to just have public
Well,
comment.
are we allowed to open up public comment? I'm going to ask the lawyer here. Are we allowed to reopen public comment?
You never had
You
it.
didn't act
You never asked for
act on
public
your
comment.
table.
What's that?
You didn't act on your motion to table?
We never had public comment on this.
Yeah, no, the public
Oh, you're
comment.
saying
This
it
isn't a
again,
public
okay.
hearing. There was no
Well,
public comment earlier.
this is
Can
design
you act, like, can you actually add on public comment? If so, can we do
Within our
that?
authority to do so, if that's what we wanted to do.
Okay, do we need a
But,
motion for
I mean, there
that?
was public comment. I'm not sure why anyone who was interested didn't speak.
Okay.
He didn't know it was coming. He didn't have a chance to look
I
anything
don't,
over.
listen, we don't have to have public comment because I think it's going to get tabled anyway, and we're going to hear...
Give him a
the-
chance to look it over.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, so I'll make a motion to table this so that we can have ordinance come before us at the same time, and also have the neighborhood be able to understand what the plan is and what you would like to do.
Yeah. Because,
I'll support.
all right, so we have a motion to table by
Within 30 days.
within 30
Yeah.
days.
So
Okay.
that this doesn't continue on.
Okay, great. So we have a motion to table from Treasurer Keeps, support from Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so we will come back within 30 days on this. Okay, so next we have Better Health Market Cart Corral at 2053 South Telegraph Road. And we'll start with Wade, and then you can join. Yeah.
So we are located in the B3 district here in the shopping center. Better Health occupies this end unit right here. And through various property maintenance actions on the facility, we found that there was an existing condition of this cart corral located in front of one of the doors to the units, as you can see here. So we asked that through this process of design review board, that cart corral be moved. And that is just another view there. That is exactly what has happened to where you see the cart corral being located within one parking space in the parking lot here. And that is directly, I guess I'll say, directly in front of where the door was, essentially, where the cart corral was located. So what we're looking for is a discussion and decision on the moving of the cart corral to this location due to property maintenance actions.
you want to add anything?
Hi, I'm Tina Taylor, the store director there. Someone came out and just handed paperwork. We've been in that space, I think, for over 10 years. I've been there 5 years. So we've never been approached about the cart corral. The doors that it was in front of prior to, those do not open. So the doors you enter from the front where you see the plants, that's the only operating door to get in and out of the building. But we did move it to the center of the parking lot. My district manager did, actually, so I don't know if we need to do anything else. He was supposed to be here today, but he couldn't make it, so he sent me in his place.
Do you have any questions?
I'm just confused a little bit. I mean, it's already been moved, right?
Yes.
It was where it was for the last 10 years, and it was
Yes.
asked to be moved
This
by-
year.
Correct.
by,
Enforcement.
okay, for safety reasons.
Yes.
Because it's put in front of what could be a fire access
Yeah,
through a
sure.
door.
Got it.
Usually don't block doors.
Right, right. Okay, so I'm clear. And then the new location is in a single spot next to the light there.
Correct.
I don't have any other questions.
Do you have any questions?
Well, is that a fire escape, the door that's blocked?
We've never used it that way.
No.
Is it an access door that someone could use? I mean, that was on a plan as a door, right?
Yes, it could.
Okay,
be.
so it's a fire escape.
It's not like a facade, it's a real door.
Correct.
I guess my concern is this corral, whether it's there or in the middle of a parking lot. I prefer to see something similar to the facade of the building, so a brick unit, wherever it's going to be. I mean, the one I'm thinking of at Trader Joe's at Maple and Telegraph is the same material. It's adjacent to the building, so when you're looking at it, you don't see anything other than the brick. But that's adjacent to the building. And that's kind of why I was asking about the doors, because if they weren't operable, it could be bricked in and it would just match and you wouldn't necessarily see it from a distance. So I guess I have an issue with the corral looking like a corral in the middle of a parking lot, and then sooner or later, there's going to be a canopy on top of it of metal or something to stop the snow from coming in, and it's just going to look tacky in the middle of a parking lot. So I don't, I guess, support that kind of a structure in the middle of a parking lot.
In that zone area, though, that does seem, isn't that kind of similar to the cart corrals at like Costco and some, I mean, that is a pretty standard cart corral in the parking lot.
It's never had any covering or anything in the over 5 years I've been there. It's never changed
But I
its
mean,
appearance.
Like where, like when you think about in that area, that is, when you're out in the parking lot, those are pretty standard out in that parking lot.
Yes.
Well, when I'm thinking, I guess, of like how this is, that's really
Right, they're
for
bigger, they're
stacking
like
and
too
stocking.
wide.
And, I mean, when I'm thinking of Costco, they have all of theirs interior, and the ones that are in
No, they
the
have,
parking lot.
no, they have a bunch
But I'm
outside.
saying this one, though, it would seem to me that that's more for stacking of them, and whereas Costco has those on the interior, they do have some on the outside.
Yeah, they have one in
Oh, I
each
see what
row.
you mean.
understand.
I see.
I
And one of them
don't
at
know.
Costco are just to collect them to then be brought inside and stored, not just out there all the time.
Right.
Is that,
And I guess, in addition, if in fact we were going to allow it, I'd like to see this with an island around it, with landscaping around it, so that they're hidden.
so is this just to collect them and then you
Yes,
store them
correct.
inside?
You
Yes.
do store them inside.
We do. You can't, I don't know if you can see through that glass right there, but they're all inside when we collect them. There's 3 rows. There's 2 large rows of carts and a small row of carts of
It's
smaller
really just a
carts.
cart return
Correct.
catch spot?
Correct.
Okay. So,
And although like a
that-
Maple Telegraph might have I mean, it's a different land, I just feel like that's a different vibe than what we already have up there in other, this would be probably one of the only ones that would be bricked out in the middle of the
That would,
parking lot?
does that alleviate your concern, Brian, that
No.
they're actually collected in, this is just a place to
No,
catch them and then they are brought inside? So when you get a new cart, you just arrive, you don't pick it from here, you pick it from inside.
Correct.
Okay.
That's part of the concern. I guess the other concern is having these throughout the parking lot, or even in the middle of the parking lot. I'd like it to be obscured, and either with landscaping around it, and if we want, I mean, if that has been there for that many years, then maybe we should look at the other ones that are out there, maybe they haven't been approved, I don't know. But if this one hadn't been approved and it's been there for a while, maybe we should be looking at the others.
Well, the one that wasn't
Also.
approved was up against the building. If it had been if it had been out there, it would have been approved. It wasn't approved because it was up against the building, correct? Because
The
it was
fact that
blocking the door?
The fact that that was never an item that was approved by the board is one aspect of it, and the fact that there was the cart corral that was installed in front of a operating door would not have been approved. Whether or not they made application, I'm suggesting they probably didn't, and it was installed without part of any permitting or approval or inspections.
What would, like, for example, Costco or some of the others that have them in the parking lots, those would have been on the plans and
Yeah,
been
they're
approved
identified on the
without
plans, right, because they're
Yeah.
taking a parking spot, so when I'm counting parking spaces,
Right.
if that's something that's going to be there, but they're very customary in some of the other shopping center parking lots.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a problem with it.
But to Brian's point, sometimes in some shopping centers, they will designate I'll call it a space equal to a parking space, but they'll put shrubbery on both sides of it and maybe bumper blocks so that people know where to put the carts, but they're obscured by vegetation on both sides. Sometimes they're covered, sometimes they're not. And we'll see you can see those islands in some other communities. We don't have examples of that, but in some other communities, they'll have something like that, but it'll be obscured on both sides with like a hedgerow, so that it's not that visible. And also that sometimes too will help with how to pattern snow removal, because that's the biggest challenge in a parking lot is snow removal when it comes to any sort of islands and obstructions. So that would be part of their consideration of where to place it too.
So another option is there anything that requires this cart corral to be placed out there? I mean,
Nope, not at all.
they could be collected by the store and returned inside
Then
through
they-
another method that doesn't include a corral.
They usually include corrals, though, so that, like, your cars don't get hit with people just randomly leaving
Yes.
carts all over the place.
That's true.
And, like,
Well-
wind blowing all the carts all over.
In here, it's pretty close to the door.
Well, oftentimes they'll be clustered around the parking, or the bumpers for the light fixtures.
Yeah.
Or-
You don't know where else to put them if there's no corral.
Or worst case, they're collected around the handicap parking spaces.
Yeah.
Can I ask, this
Yeah.
location, is this on the side? The store has a side and then the front. The front is on Telegraph.
Yes, correct.
And this is on the side of the building.
Yes, correct.
Well, if I were a customer, I'm not walking my cart over there anyway. I'll be parked out front where the entrance is where the B is roughly.
It's right in this
And
area here.
I'd return the cart to the front door if I had to.
We get
You're
both.
saying if you were that close, you'd go all the way
Right,
out.
I wouldn't walk farther to go to the cart corral to put it in there.
Well, then to
Over to the-
Brian's point, then do they need one?
I don't.
Well, they feel they do, so.
Well,
And that's what they're
they
asking
had one
for, but-
outside, but
So then are you suggesting to move it in front where the B3, like, where most of the people park?
I'm
Like,
suggesting that maybe the business have the discretion not to have one at all. I mean, was it really you? Did people bring their carts back to the side of the building and push them in there?
Yes, they do.
Oh, very nice.
And we have people parking everywhere, in the front and the
Side,
side,
too.
kind of more in the back if they don't want to park near other cars.
Oh, okay.
Pet Supplies Plus also has carts, and they don't have an outside corral. And they just have employees bring their carts in.
I take my cart back because
Or-
there's no corral and I feel bad. I just don't want it flying in somebody's car.
So
Right.
I'm going to make a motion to table, and on that basis, suggesting to the applicant, if you need a corral, then you'll clearly come back, and I would like to see landscaping around it, but that's up to you to present to us. And it'll be up to you to determine if you want to come back and need a corral or how to obscure it. So that's my motion, is tabling it.
They need our approval to have a corral in the parking lot? Really?
Yes, anytime you improve commercial property that impacts
improvement?
circulation or so forth, then it is approval. We don't have the authority to just sign off on that.
So we have a motion to table to come back with a plan including landscaping?
Or to just not have one.
Or to get rid of it altogether,
Or get
one of
rid
the
of it
two
altogether.
choices.
Yeah.
Then you
Would
wouldn't
there
even come
be
back at
a
all.
third
Correct.
choice of, now you're taking away the option of this, though? Like, what if they say they want one and they don't want landscaping? You're taking away the option of leaving
Well, I
it the
mean,
way it
listen,
is. That's where I'm going to
That's
run
what-
into some
that-
issues.
That's what you provided to us. We could vote on that now. I mean, I guess I'm just giving them an option to come back.
Okay, so
Obviously, I don't make the choices, I'm just here, and I'll go back and speak with them, so
I don't,
Is it nailed down already in some way?
I believe so. I'd have to check with my
Design.
It looks anchored
anchored.
in,
buyer, yeah.
cemented in.
so we have one motion on the table. Do we have any support? Okay, seeing no support on that, do we have another motion?
I would move to approve as submitted.
So we have a motion to approve as submitted. Do we have a second? I'll second. So motion by Clerk Brooks, second by Supervisor Walsh. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nope.
Okay, so that passes 2-1. Thank
So
you.
does that require, is that an accessory structure?
I would not consider that an accessory structure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have the Starbucks generator at 42934 Woodward Avenue.
Located in the B3 zone district at the
Sorry.
southeast corner of Square Lake and Woodward. This is the new site for, this is the site for the new Starbucks store. We have the existing approved site plan here, and the request is for placement of a generator in the side yard.
Actually, the transformer.
Transformer, sorry.
Sorry about that, sorry.
In this location here, and you can see the location here blown up. I went ahead and blew it up a little bit more for visual clarity. It's a 5-foot by 6-foot transformer. It's 2.5 feet off of the side property line. The property adjacent here is the Rusty Bucket restaurant, and the actual Starbucks building is right here, and they have their drive-through and drive aisles right here in this location. So it's approximately 30 foot off the building, and again, 2.5 feet off the property line itself. I'll mention that there are proposed 9 6-foot tall arborvitae for screening from the road and from the Rusty Bucket restaurant. And you can see that in the aerial photograph here, the location will be approximately in this low green area in this location here for the transformer itself. So that said, I'll answer any questions or turn it over to the applicant.
Question for you, Wade.
Yes.
Remind me, if you go to the one that you just had, the aerial, that one, where the entrance to Rusty Bucket is on the south side of, it's where like the 4 is maybe?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And then, if I remember correctly, the area along Woodward is kind of a patio area, correct?
In front of Rusty Bucket, yes.
And is the transformer then visible from the outside area, or is it set back so that it's kind of in the B-ish area, so you don't see it from the seating area outside?
Without screening, you would see it. but the transformer is essentially the genesis of this was transformer location was proposed towards the Woodward side behind the curb, which was rejected by the Planning Commission. And I came in and met with Andrea, and I met with DTE and the contractor, and the other transformer for DeVita is in this green belt as well. It's the shortest primary and secondary distance that DTE would like. I sat down and kind of talked about the location with Andrea, and any other location is really either to Woodward or kissed up to the back of the Starbucks. So essentially, we're sitting consistent with the transformer down at DeVita, and we're creating a green screen around there so that the folks on the deck won't be able to see that. And then it's kind of uphill and safe from Woodward Avenue, whereas opposed to before, it was proposed behind the curb towards Woodward instead of the south curb. So we kind of work with Andrea on this, and it's just kind of a logical, consistent way to place a transformer, if you will.
So right here's the existing outline of the Rusty Bucket restaurant. And this may be the patio in this little area, I'm not for sure, but that's...
Okay.
And then the generator would be, transformer would be right in this location, so.
It's uphill from there quite a bit, actually. It's the grade changes from that patio about,
Yeah, it does.
say, call it about a 4 to 6 foot rise. So it'll be concealed quite well from Woodward and concealed quite well from an upper view that way. The arborvitaes are a foot taller than the transformer, and then that elevation is probably maybe 15 feet higher than Woodward, and maybe 4 to 6 feet higher than that patio.
So this is so I appreciate, Wade, the so this is right behind the wall of the Starbucks? It's not on the grass median next to, I was thinking this was...
No, it is, the transformer is across the drive aisle behind the curb, and that's consistent with the transformer with DeVita.
So it's between the curb and the building of Rusty Bucket?
Correct.
It does not interfere with the bypass lane.
No, it has nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah, it's outside of the curb,
Oh,
curb and the property line. And then again, with the natural screen around.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
no. Does this need to go to ZBA, to ZBA?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve as submitted and forward to ZBA.
Support?
Motion by Clerk Brooks, support by Treasurer Keeps. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That does pass.
Thanks.
Thank you both. Next, we have facade changes. So we have the MEX building, and it's going to be 6675 South Telegraph Road. And we'll have Wade start, and then you can join in.
Another property in the B3 along South Telegraph. Have the aerial photo. And in October of last year, the applicant came forward with the exterior renovation plans for the MEX restaurant. You can see the original, or what was approved, plans included the white paint throughout this area here above the main door. There was a line of windows and door entrance area in this area, carrying through with the new glass in the atrium area. And the changes that have occurred include this brown wood look-alike material in the MEX sign, and then above the door area and carried out into this area here. So this is a little bit of an up close. We've lost the bank of windows and the larger door that was shown in the original approval. And again, we've changed the color and materials of these areas from white to the brown. And this design was also changed slightly from the original approval, but still same colors and materials there. I want to also point out that you can see here we lost the mullion effect to these windows. So I'll go back to the approved set of plans. You can see the mullion in these windows here. The door and windows in this location were not installed. And then the material change, and then the design change down here. So again, this is what was approved in October last year to today. They are operating under a temporary occupancy permit, but prior to getting their final occupancy, they needed to come have a discussion and get approved of any sort for this new design plan.
I like today is the theme of, what's that? Is it Wish? That what you think you're buying online and it comes and looks really different? So I'm going to be a little bit hard on you, too, of what happened and why would you have done something without getting approval?
I wish I had a real
I'm
clear
just
answer
as
for
fair
you.
to everybody.
Of course, I understand.
Yeah.
If I had a clear answer for you, I'd provide it. But it was basically that it was an ever-evolving situation as we went into the project. When I came early in October, was it, that I was here the first time, we had omitted all of that exterior stuff. This was one of the original submissions from our architect and designer. We really liked it, and we really wanted it. Prior to that October meeting, we scratched it for budgetary reasons. Then when my partner Jim Valentin came in and saw how beautiful the place was looking inside, he's like, you got to do the outside. I'm like, I got 2 months now. I'm going to put me back 60 days on this project and cost an extra, however many, $100,000 for that. So it was a bit of a scramble to get it done to one of the original submittals from the architect and designer. And it shame on me for not immediately thinking to come back here before I started working on it. I just feverishly tried to find somebody who could do the work, build it, without actually, from the renderings that we had from the designers and the architects. And it's beautiful, but
This
it is not
way
quite
more
as the same
beautiful.
as, you think the original one is?
Yeah, this
With the
is
white?
way prettier. Well, and
Yeah,
also with all the window, those are much, there's a lot more going on.
Yeah,
That's really
the
cool.
mullions, they don't show up very well in the picture, but there are mullions or muttons, whatever you call them, on the vertical windows that open and close.
They kind of look like the old big
But-
boy windows.
And we wanted to do, it's funny, you're not the first person to say
Well,
that.
because
it
honest
used
to
be a big
goodness,
boy.
this totally looks like the old big boy.
Oh, okay.
Whereas this looked really special. And it's a bummer because I love
Gosh,
Jim. Jim's a friend of mine, but,
I hate to hear that. Everybody I've talked to says they just love it, but
well, did they ever see this though?
yeah.
This is like the Wish, and this is what you thought you got.
Yeah. So there's we talked about putting the mullions on the on the horizontal as well on the ceiling window, but with the film that has to be there in order to stop the light from turning it into an oven inside, you wouldn't be able to see the mullion striping from the street. So again, you can see it on it's hard to see in this picture, but there's definitely mullions on all of the vertical glass on all of the windows that open for screening. It looks beautiful, but what else was there? The design of the tile, I thought we did it exactly the same on both of them, but it might be slightly different, as Wade said. That black and white tile there.
Well, it was supposed to continue. You were supposed to have
to
more
continue across the
windows. Like
bottom.
you took out windows, you took
Well, we
out
didn't-
tiling, you changed colors. This is literally two different styles.
Yeah.
It's not like a one thing changed. You changed a
Of course,
lot.
of course.
So we asked the question, just like we did to everybody else, of how? How did this happen? And the answer was, we're not really sure. So I guess next is, where do we go from here?
Does that exist?
Yeah.
It's so funny. I go by there all the time. I was just there and I didn't notice.
It's getting a lot of social media, Instagram activity, because
right?
all the girls in town want to take their picture next to that wall now.
Well,
so.
that was on the plan. They always said that was going to be an art wall
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. So that
I
was
guess I
always
don't
on.
go, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
Anthony Lee is a local artist. He does all of our mural work. He's really talented.
Well, I think it looks good, and I think they have a history of updating when it needs to. Quite frankly, I was concerned initially, when it came through with the canopy and the color of the canopy and the maintenance of it,
Yeah.
and true to form, when it needed to be redone, it was redone and removed. So,
Nobody misses that pink awning.
yeah, no, I'll make a motion to approve as submitted. I think it looks good.
And the reasoning being of a totally different site plan was built.
It's not a site plan, it's...
Well, sorry,
it's-
this was what was approved
Okay.
with different windows, different tile, different everything. So being that we just had a discussion with someone of why did they do what they did,
You just approved a minute ago someone who moved,
which is standard.
installed it, and it wasn't approved, and
But
so,
they
anyway, I
they
made a
put it-
motion, and we
okay.
can vote, or we can
All right.
see if it's supported. I think
Do
it
you have
looks
any other
good.
questions? I feel like
Can I
there
ask
were
a
more questions.
question
Yeah.
associated
you're
with the
allowed-
motion? Yeah, so, I mean, it's not the same, but, I mean, if you come with this plan, I would imagine I would have supported it,
Right.
just like I supported the other plan. The other plan is nicer.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a
This
you
one
know,
looks like good.
subjective opinion, and, you know, I don't even know what we would do. I mean, if we,
I mean, that's the
there's
thing,
nothing
it's
to
like-
do.
Yeah. What do you do? I mean, it's going to be a great restaurant. It's going to be, it's just that, what do you do?
It is, I've been there.
Tacos and margaritas are great.
But it's that whole
So we brought
concept
some
of
today.
how do you keep one person,
No, that's on me.
It's- I mean,
Supervisor Welch.
literally
It's
the
my
same
responsibility.
meeting.
As soon as Jim said, do it, instead of thinking
Somebody should
feverishly
have
how
come for- I mean, it's
how I
not
was
a-
going to build it, I should have red flagged and said, I got to go back to the city.
Yeah.
That's on me.
and it wasn't just a little change. I mean, you said I'm not the first person to say it looks like the old Big Boy. Like, you definitely,
The glass.
this did not look
The
like
glass,
Big Boy.
everybody's
Yeah.
referring to that glass
It
atrium
looks
as
like the old
Big Boy.
greenhouse of Big Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full circle, I guess.
Yeah, and it's not that we would have said no to this, it's that it's not what we said yes to.
I understand.
So I guess there's,
Are there any other changes that we don't see on the outside?
There's on the south end of the building, on the upper soffit, I don't know if it's on one of the pictures, I don't know if Wade pointed it out as well. That's the same AZEK material on the underside of the south soffit.
There's, even the material is now a band above the angled roof glazing. You can see they
Oh, yeah.
added it to the roof line there. So they're trying to incorporate it more into the balance of the restaurant facade.
do you have any other questions?
You know, other than, you know, even if we were inclined to, you know, deny this, I don't even know what options we have.
That's fine, yeah.
Do you know how many options we have?
Well, options, meaning if you denied it, then they would have to come back with a alternative proposal.
Or resubmit where they go through the process to make, so were we the only ones that have to change?
Yes.
If something does a full-on, I mean, this is truly a different building.
Design Review Board has the authority for all exterior modifications and changes.
So, and windows and all of that's considered exterior?
Correct. So part of our review and looking at construction drawings to the approved plans from a township board is that they are identical. You know,
They
within
didn't even
reason.
have to go through the whole process, you just had to come to one board, and nobody thought to do it.
I definitely, when we redo Bose in a couple of years, I'll keep this in
Well,
mind.
that's what scares me, because
keep
he's a
this in
good
mind,
friend, but he
absolutely,
owns a
yeah.
lot more than one spot.
Mm-hmm,
And there's a slippery slope, so out of future lessons, I might have to vote differently than I would have. Would not have said no originally to this building, but I might have to today. All right, so if there's no more questions, we do have a motion to approve as submitted.
I'm going to come up with another question.
This is actually a perfect example of how I'm going to treat a friend, just the same way I treat everybody else.
Of course.
So tell them not to get
That's how
mad
it
at
should-
me.
That's how it should be.
Tell them not to get mad at me, but this is,
Not at all.
you get the same treatment. People may not like my answer, but we'll always be honest. So, do you have any questions? And if not, do you have a second? Or should I move on to another?
Well, if we were going to try, if there's more to discuss, seems to me that we would, table it to talk further about it or entertain other changes to address the differences in the plan. That's the only other competing motion I can think of.
So let me,
But-
to Danny's comment initially, that if this were approved, if this were submitted, if what is there was submitted initially, probably would have voted for it.
Oh, yeah?
Just like we might have
Given-
voted for the one that came before us today had it been submitted that way.
Given that they didn't, and they didn't.
And they didn't either,
They
right.
They did this.
Right.
And given that, quite frankly, I wouldn't have necessarily, didn't like the magenta awning or whatever it was initially, but I guess given the context of, the creative atmosphere that's gone into this, including Bose, if you want to threw that in there, or that was mentioned. I think they're both done tastefully. I can get tabled, but I don't know what that at the end of the day is really going to do. Are we really going to start to either micro design it or say rip everything off, put what was originally done up there? I think this is going to get commuted to, these discussions will get communicated with the ownership so that this won't happen again. Or if they do want to change designs, they're going to come before us before they install it. But given what it is, given that it's very tasteful, given that they have a history of updating and improving, I guess I would hope that this motion gets supported and approved.
Do we have a motion by Treasurer Keeps?
I'll support.
Support by Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. So it does pass 2-1.
2-1. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, so next we have special events. So we have 17, is that 50? I put my glasses on. 1750 Saxon Drive for the Birmingham Country Club, Suburban Interclub Swim Association. Hello. You waited a long one. Yeah. So we'll start with Wade.
So, yes, we have a special event coming up at the Birmingham Country Club for the Suburban Interclub Swim Association. This is the event that every 6 years the clubs in the areas host. Last year it was at the
Birmingham
Athletic Club on Maple.
Tim?
This year it's moved out to Birmingham Country Club. It is scheduled for August 3rd and August 4th. August 3rd from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. August 4th from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's a 2-day meet marking the end of the season. And there are provisions in place for a shuttle system as well as on-site parking. I printed that out, I don't know where it's at now. The shuttle will be from the Birmingham, I'm sorry. What's the name of the
It's
school?
Berkshire Elementary. It's 2.3 miles to our west.
So there are 2 shuttles that will run, a 24-seater and a 36-seater, that will be a continuous loop throughout the hours, and to handle any overflow parking that can't be accommodated on the site. There will be officials that will be monitoring the parking and valet service for parking. There are no street closures proposed. Scroll through. Tim has reached out to the cities of Birmingham and Beverly Hills to make them aware of the event coming up. In case any calls would be forwarded their way, they are aware of the event. There are proposed to be 10 tents. There is also some bleacher facilities, those of which will require building permit.
Which was submitted as well.
Perfect. And there will be on-site signage only that will be used to direct members and guests around the facility. We have a multitude of drawings and diagrams showing where all the judges' tents and athlete tents and spectators and temporary restrooms, all located around the pool area at the club. And there will be plans for several food trucks on site, and we do have comments from the fire department, from the police department, and from engineering and environmental services, all of which are supportive of the event. And with regard to those food trucks, there is the Oakland County permitting requirements for those as well. And that's for you.
Okay,
That's all the
thank you.
comments. That being said, I'll turn it over to Tim to provide any more details.
Good afternoon, Tim Gardella. First of all, I want to make sure the 3rd and the 4th is the Friday, Saturday. I want to.
I'm reading off your application.
I know. I saw that. I'm just for whatever reason.
For August? August 3rd and 4th is Thursday
Okay,
and Friday.
thank you.
Thursday, Friday, okay.
Right, Friday, Saturday event. Yeah, so the
Saturday
two-day.
would be 4th, 5th.
Wait a minute, it's a Friday, Saturday event, or?
It's Friday, Saturday event.
Then it's the 4th and the 5th.
It's 4th and 5th.
Very
No,
good.
that's what when I saw that on there, I was like, is that the right?
You've got 3rd and 4th.
There we go.
4th and 5th. All right, there we go. Yeah, it's every 6 years BCC will host this event along with Forest Lake, Orchard Lake, Pine Lake, BOH. BAC is in mix, so it's a little different. There's 13 clubs in that, so that's every 13 years, but this is every 6 at BCC. So great event for the community, and any questions I can answer for you?
Any questions?
I have a parking question.
Sure.
With the expected attendance, how much will have to be off-site?
Yeah, so we only have 239 parking spaces in total. There are 42 spaces that are to the right on our property that will not be used for parking, that will be used for drop-off of the buses. So closest to the entrance to the complex. So those parking places will not be used. So we're at just under 200 that can be used for on-site parking. That will be used for VIP, officials, and probably some directors of either SICSA and/or the club.
Where's the international press going to be stationed?
Right. At the Townsend.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good place.
Right.
Okay.
And 10 o'clock's the ending time, or the ending of the competition, or the ending of the whole event that people expect to be going?
Yeah, pretty much the end of the event.
Does this get noted? Is this noticed? And I get, okay.
I don't have any other questions.
Notices in all the neighbors around?
We don't send notices for
No.
special events.
No.
Okay. Just concerned with the change of the date.
But we did ask that they reach out to the adjacent communities and so forth.
So I guess along that line, so I'll make a motion to approve as submitted. If you could, I guess, re-notify the communities, Beverly Hills and.
Yeah, I sent an email along with the site plan, the site plan, the special events application permit, and.
Well, I guess my comment was, given that the dates were incorrect, the correct dates, just so that they have the dates. in case they-
So just a updated,
Yeah,
yeah, I can do that,
They
no
know what
problem.
days to
just
expect?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just do that first page? Is that what you'd like?
Yeah.
Okay. Great, no problem.
I'll support.
Motion by Treasurer Keeps, support by Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
All right, thank
That
you.
passes.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
likewise, Wade.
So next we have,
Yep, you bet.
are there any recent design review boards to discuss?
We do not.
Okay, so our next meeting is going to be August 2nd, and I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
I'm so moved.
Motion by Clerk Brooks, support by Treasurer Keeps. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. We'll see you on August 2nd.